Okay, the first thing I'm going to do is get myself 5 gallons of water. That's going to be a 50% RO or reverse osmosis blend with 50% of my filtered well water. Next, I'm going to calibrate my digital pH meter with a solution of 4O and another of 7O, and then I'm going to add approximately 3.75 grams of calcium chloride. It's a little high, but it won't hurt anything. Then we're going to test for pH before we acidify. Oh, by the way, the pH of the well water by itself starts out at 8.2. Okay, after the calcium chloride addition, looks like we're still sitting at about 7.1, so I want to bring this down to about 6. Okay, I'm going to add 75% phosphoric acid, about 1 milliliter at a time. Okay, that brought it down to 6.4, so I'm going to go ahead and add another milliliter, and that should put us where we need to be for this brew, for this style. There. That should put us right about where we need to be. Just a little under 6 is what I'm hoping for. Okay, that's better. That's right where I wanted to be. 5.9. Okay, time to head out to the garage and have some fun brewing up a American brown ale. Next, I want to check the calibration on my thermometers before we get started. So as a base I use a mercury thermometer. It's reading just a scotch above 60 degrees. And then my digital that I use is reading right at 62. Then the third one I use, usually for mashing, is right in there about the same, so I'm good with that. Looks like all three of them are real close. Okay, I went ahead and added the water to the kettle, and I'm going to start it up, and while it's heating up, I'm going to get my grains ready and mill them. So I'm going to shoot for a strike water of about 165. Well, here's what it looks like after the first milling. But everything I'm reading says to mill them twice, so what the heck. Okay, the mash water hit, or the strike water hit 165. So now I put my bag in there, and I'm just going to gradually start stirring in all the grains. The beauty of a little 3-gallon batch, or 5 gallons full volume, is I can pick it up and move it. So I just moved it over next to the wood burning stove. It'll stay a little warmer there, and we'll just let it sit for an hour. Just to be safe, I went ahead and wrapped it up. Make sure it stays as warm as possible. I'll come back in about a half hour and check it. Okay, the garage temps are a little bit too cool to keep it at mash temperature without heating it again. That's one of the reasons why I like to use a false bottom, because now I can heat it back up, which I just did. I fired it up for just a few minutes, brought the temperature back up to 152. We'll wait for a little while, and then we'll raise the temperature to 168 for mash out. Okay, before I raise the temperature for mash out, I'm going to take a little sample of the wort, let it cool down to room temperature, and check the pH. Okay, the hour is up. So I went ahead, raised the temperature to 165, hoisted the bag. I went ahead and used my hoist setup. I think that's going to be a lot easier to use than a colander, even though that would work, because now I can go ahead and fire up the pot and get it started to boil. Okay, everything's come to a boil. So you can just take this bag and set it in a 5-gallon bucket and take it out to the compost. Okay, we've got a nice rolling boil going, so it's time to add our first hops addition. The spent grain goes in a bucket. Take this inside the house and clean the bag. That's pretty much our cleanup. This is pretty sweet. The mash pH came in a point or two higher than I'd like to see. So that'll give me a better idea next time what pH to start with for a style like this. Next it's time to sanitize the carboy. I use the carboy sanitizer and SaniClean for sanitizing. With 15 minutes left, I put the immersion chiller in to sanitize, and I throw in 1 Whirlfloc tablet. It's a fining agent that helps clear the beer later. With 10 minutes left, it's time for the second hops addition. Time's up. Time for flame out. At this point, I want to take the gravity reading, so I'm going to give it a good stir to suspend everything. And I'm going to take a refractometer reading here. Now time to check out my homemade chiller here. The ice water goes through the coils into a spare bucket. I take that bucket out and dump it in the flower garden. I just keep filling it with the well water as I need to keep the ice in there. Okay, it's been 4.5 minutes. It's down to about 122. It's like we reached our mark of 70. And it took about 28 minutes. At this point, I'm going to pour the chilled wort into the carboy with a sanitized funnel. That'll help aerate it a little bit. We'll take it in the house and pitch the yeast. Next, I'm going to pitch a little yeast slurry from the last batch I did, which was the pale ale. I'm going to use about a half of what I have here. And what I'm after is about a half a cup of slurry. And finally, a blow-off hose coiled into a pitcher of water. There you have it. That's how I do a 3-gallon brew in a bag batch of American brown ale.